Marvin, we went hunting today.
We did. And guess what? We suck. They're right there. You see him? Yeah. You gotta get out of this field. He's never gonna get
It was well, as crazy as it was, and as frustrating as it was. I'm so glad that I went. I'm laughing about it. I'm like, that's so stupid.
I mean, it's an overused saying, but a bad day hunting is better than a good day at work. So
Yeah, you went hunting last week, and I couldn't come here because I was shooting a show on Long Island, New York, which hunting in Long Island, New York usually ends up with you getting shot. I wanted to go the following week, wanted to go out hunting and talked to Mark, mentioned him in previous episodes, and he gave us permission to hunt on his property. And what was interesting was the day before, I sort of asked, "Hey, have you seen any of them?" And he told me exactly what we basically saw. He said he saw a bunch of jakes, and he saw two big toms, and one tom doesn't have any hens, which got me all excited. I was pretty close to where I said they roosted. The big field, there's these tall pines, and immediately you looked over there and you're like, they're probably up in there. And sure enough, that's where they fucking were.
yeah, if you
Um,
got tall pines over a field edge, that's almost always where they'll be roosted.
we sit in this fucking spot pretty good. It took us like a little bit of maneuvering to figure out what we were
Yeah,
doing, but
figure out angles, especially since we're running a camera now, which is a completely different experience for me.
right.
And working out the bugaboos and just learning curve on that. Yeah, it's kind of like it's a longer than it is wide field,
Yes.
and we were kind of three-quarters of the way towards the back, and the turkeys were all the way in the back.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I didn't even make a call because I was like, you know what, I don't want to make any noise. I don't want anything to know that we're here.
hmm hmm
And
Yeah, you just put out the decoy.
I just
That's what I
I
did.
put out the decoy in the dark.
Yeah, in the spot where I ended up sitting, because I heard you go, Adam, sit over here instead, and I'm
Yeah,
like, inwardly, I was like, thank you, because I was
yeah,
like, where I was sitting, it's like, I'm a righty now. This would have been great if I was a lefty
right.
sitting here, but if I'm a righty now, my ass is sticking right out in the open there,
Well,
and
what made me make that decision was we heard that bird gobble in a different direction. So I was like,
yeah,
if that bird comes running in,
yeah,
he's going to be screwed if he has to try to shoot that one.
yeah. They started calling like,
They started gobbling, and I heard one hen on the roost, as I recall.
mhm. The first turkey I heard for sure was that the gobble from pretty far away. But it turned out, after talking with Mark afterward, it turned out that that was indeed, most likely anyway, the tom that didn't have any hens,
Right.
and he was gobbling to beat hell there for a little while.
Yeah, I almost think that the Jakes and the other Tom have kicked his ass a few times. That's why he doesn't like.
Mark said something interesting to me. He says that tom has like a hoarse gobble. It sounds,
I've hunted birds that had messed up gobbles
yeah.
before.
You thought he was a lot further away than I did. I thought he was actually much closer. I thought he was by this shooting. I call it Aunt Ree shooting shack, but it's this little shack that he built that he used to take my Aunt Ree hunting there. And I thought he was in there, and it turned out he probably started out where you said he was, and then flew almost immediately in the moment you let out a little call.
Right.
By
Which
the way, you're an asshole, because the moment you let out that call, I literally,
well, I had to make the call loud enough so he heard it way
yeah,
over there.
yeah. And the thing was, Marvin, I was preparing for you to do it. Like, I was sitting there, and I'm like, he's gonna do the call, Adam. He's gonna do the call.
Yeah.
He's gonna do the
You
call, and it
should have.
didn't matter.
I heard the scraping of their. So that I
Yes,
heard the scraping of
yes,
their feet come
yeah,
off the limb. I heard the
yes, yep,
as they came off, and I was like,
yeah.
"All right, they're down."
Because I knew it was them. I just couldn't really see them because of where I was sitting. There's a lot of brush in front of me
And they were
there.
actually on the ground for a while in the back of the field before
Yeah.
they actually started to come
So
in.
you could probably see them a lot sooner than I did because there's this big thick brush
Yeah, it
directly in
was in
front of
my
me.
way too, so I couldn't see you.
Okay. But the moment I saw the Tom, and I'm pretty sure it was the Tom, I saw him when I literally saw him land
Yeah.
and I saw his head. And I'm like, oh shit, there he is. And that's the moment I took the safety off. And then I saw him walking down that path, the pipeline path, right? And I saw him coming in. And I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, he's coming in.
Well, I think I asked you at one point, are they coming? Okay. Are they coming?
I don't know if I heard that.
Yeah.
I remember saying he's coming in.
I heard you say something, then I looked over and I could
Yeah.
just see heads start
Yeah.
coming through.
Because he was with a bunch of hens, and you think he was with a couple of jakes.
I think there was a Jake or two in that group.
And it's hard to tell in the footage because, again, we're looking at a bit of a smaller monitor. By the time I'm editing this, I'd probably be able to tell a little
Yeah.
better on a bigger screen. But
You know, sometimes turkeys just don't like decoys, and this was one of those.
I've never seen it. It was so frustrating.
It was one of those days because I called them. I called maybe 2 or 3 times at most, I think. They started coming in, they got to 100 yards, and they just stopped.
Yeah.
And they just kept looking at the decoy. They looked at the decoy. And then a couple of them actually spooked. And you'll see on the video that we are not moving. We didn't do anything. These
Yeah.
birds were just spooky. I don't know if maybe they've had.
And looking at the footage, there's a couple of theories I have of what spooked it, knowing now the timeline that I now have. Since talking with Mark. The decoy could have easily have been what spooked him. Mark says that happens.
Yeah, it does
He
happen.
says that happens because I asked him.
There's something about the decoy not moving at all that they're like, hmm.
It was the hens. If you look at the footage, it was a hen and maybe possibly a jake that spooked first,
And they flew.
and that spooked the tom because when the
Yeah, then
tom
a few of them just stood there and didn't really know what was going
and
on.
what was so frustrating, right, was they were right there,
Right.
right? They were just out of range, especially with my 16 gauge, which will probably be its own video. What guns we've been using. I got to get them in closer because I just have
Well, yeah, it's a 16 gauge and it's just a modified choke.
yeah, in my head. I remember saying in my head, don't take the shot. It's not worth it. Don't take the shot.
Yeah.
It's not gonna do a fucking thing. And I'm so fucking I
If
was
they would have been 20 yards closer, I might have tried it with my 10
with
gauge.
yours. I was honestly I didn't say anything because I didn't want to move.
Yeah.
But I was honestly thinking, I was like, is he gonna try to get
I'm
yours with the 10
I might
gauge?
if they were a hair closer, I might have, but it was the kind of thing where it's like I'm on a piece of property I've never hunted before.
Yeah.
It's not I don't have permission to hunt there. We have permission to hunt there,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And really
true.
it's you that have permission to hunt there.
Yeah.
I don't want to wing a bird on a piece of property
Yeah.
that I want to know I'm going to kill the bird on a piece of property that is posted and I have special permission to be there.
I'm making the
The
shot.
second they were coming in, all of a sudden they just stopped and wouldn't do anything. I was like, we're fucked. They're not going to come in. And I think I called right through there because I was like,
You did.
maybe they'll get stupid.
Yeah.
And then, like the video shows, a couple of them fly off and then the rest of them just kind of poke through the field.
Hmm.
The rest of the field, it kind of, like I said, the field's more long than it is wide. So it goes out, then it kind of L shapes
Yep.
off into a corner. And they went up into the smaller chunk of the L. But so we went on a
On a
trail
trail that was built
that leads you to that section of the L
in the upper corner, in the
in the
upper
upper
right
corner.
hand corner. I wish I acted sooner. I wish I said, Marvin, let's go up there.
Right.
Because a part of me thinks, because when we rounded that corner and I stopped you, I saw him first.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if it was a Jake or a Tom. I just know it was a fan. And I'm like, there's a turkey right there, right by that rock. Right there.
You see him? Yeah. Oh yeah, I see him.
Going back to what possibly spooked him, it could have been what happened was Mark was awake during that whole thing. It could have been the decoy, but at the same time, what we found out was that Tom, that didn't have any hens, was coming in to beat hell and was by our truck, by your truck.
Right.
He was right there. And Mark was saying he was watching him out his window, and he was going to beat hell down that path where we went walking into the field, and he was charging down there and I think it was because he heard the call, and then Mark suddenly he took off, like just vanished, like he just flew into the air and disappeared somewhere off into that corner where we ended up going, and it lined up almost exactly when those turkeys all in front of us spooked.
Yeah, which would make sense.
Yeah, so a part of me is also
He saw them
wondering,
fly, then he was like,
yeah,
I don't know what's going on, but I'm getting out of here.
yeah, so maybe they spooked each other. We just don't know, but I'm like,
Because there's no way in hell we spooked that Tom
and it was so,
from there.
and it's even more aggravating because I'm like, that Tom was coming in to beat hell.
Oh yeah, he could have very easily dragged the rest of the birds right to us if he would have come in
Yeah,
confident.
I'm also wondering if he's a bit older too, if he's an older male,
Yeah,
and
once birds get older, they get shot at a few times, they just get
who knows,
spooky.
because they were definitely spooky. But anyways, so we get up into that corner. I don't think it was a turkey. It could have been, but I saw what was clear, what looked something white pop its head out in just off the path,
Yeah.
right? Just off the path and just off the field. So I took the gun off safety because I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's one of the turkeys coming in. And then it just never came in.
What I'm almost positive it did, it was probably a hen,
Yeah.
and she popped her head up over because we were calling in there.
Hmm.
She didn't see another turkey, and then
Yeah.
she was like, she told the rest of them to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Probably. Uh, but it was entertaining, but frustrating.
And then we decided to change spots.
Hmm.
We
Which is
took
fun. This
we,
is cool.
we took a ride around. We tried a few places, nothing was gobbling. And then we went to a place where I've hunted turkeys before, and sure enough, there was a big one
Yeah.
strutting around right in the
Yeah.
field with three other turkeys.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure one was a Jake.
One was definitely another male, and then I think the other two were
Were
hens.
hens. And then there was that lone hen way further up.
Right. When we got out of the truck, we spooked her, but
Yeah.
she was pretty far away from the other turkey, so I was like, I want you to get out of here anyway. So we set up in this long field, and it's got a big hump right in the middle of it, and they were on the opposite side of the hump, and I was like, so we got in just as close as we could to them before I made a call, and there was
Silence.
silence. There's nothing,
Yep.
and so I called for a bit, and there was no responses, and so I was like, we might be able to get up really close to them and use the hump to our advantage. So we started doing that. We were just about to get up over to the top of the hump, and he
Hmm.
gobbles.
Yeah.
And we could tell it was in a spot where it wasn't going to work out for us.
Yep.
And so I think I caught it on camera. I was like, hey, we got to get out of this field now.
Yes.
Closer. That's getting closer. We got to get out of this field. He's never going to get
Because I remember where we were originally seating and how he wasn't coming in, or none of them were coming in, even to look. Honestly, what I was thinking, because that's there's there's quite a drop off on that hill, and I was thinking maybe they're hooking around,
yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking too.
and I was like, maybe we should.
We might be able to ambush him.
Yeah, well, I remember I kept looking behind for that very reason.
Yeah.
I kept being like, maybe. So I sat and positioned myself where I could specifically shoot either left or right, because as soon as they stopped, they weren't coming in at all. I was like, well, they might be circling around. He's taking the safe route.
And so We kind of circled down, and then, like I said, I went, hey, we got to get out of this field now because this isn't going to work out.
I
If
know. You were like, come on, go,
Yeah,
go.
we got to go. We got to go now. Then we circled around. We went to the tree line on the edge of the field.
Right.
We were there for a little while.
Yeah.
I made some calls and nothing happened. Then I made a call and one gobble. Just get tucked in right here somewhere. And I was
Yeah.
like, at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, that's pretty encouraging most of the time. If one will gobble at all at that time. They would sound like they would come in and then they'd go away a little bit and they'd work their way back, typical turkeys in a field. And then one gobble happened and I was like, that's closer. That's
Yes.
close.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you to get ready, but it was pretty implied that you should probably get ready.
I'll be honest, I didn't hear you speak once.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm a little bit harder of hearing anyways, but
I think I told you that was closer.
I did hear that.
And
Yes,
then
you're right.
that's when I saw
You're
you
right.
get a little bit more ready. Again, there's this hump in the middle of the field, and they work their way up the hump.
Yes.
And then a hen poked her head over and either saw me or you, and she started putting at us.
If I got any more over, I wouldn't see shit.
Plus, the sun was beating right in on us.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just like,
Yeah, I got attacked by a bird.
yeah. Like, there's no way that Tom's coming in now.
Yeah.
And so that's when in the video you see me get up and I tell Adam to come with me. And so we kind of crept up over the edge. And I looked where the last gobble was. I didn't see anything. And then I looked to my right and I just saw 3 heads right there.
Yeah. And I didn't. I didn't see those heads because I was a little bit higher
And
up than you.
so as quick as I could, I got my gun up, and right as I shot, the redhead started to fly, and I shot, and I clean missed him.
Yeah.
I clean missed him, and I probably shouldn't have shot,
And
but
and I don't think the camera can see me that well during that little bit because we then walked ahead a little bit. But I tell you, Marvin, I was literally like,
yeah, what's going on?
what the fuck? Like I had no idea. I could hear them, and I knew that the turkeys were taking off. I couldn't tell which one was male. I couldn't tell which one was which.
Yeah,
I
I
couldn't
saw the
do any of it.
redhead.
It went by so fast for me. That's one of those things where I'm like, I know if I keep going and keep going, I'll get better at it. Being able to spot the difference a little bit quicker.
I've hunted them and killed them for so long that it's like I can just take a glance at one,
Right,
as
because
long as it's close, and I'll be like, oh, that's
how many did you say you shot? You said maybe close to 20. I've just gotten 4. I got to tell you, I've never been fucked with hearing with sound more in my life than I was today. Because there was a time, and I mean an extended period of time, and you probably didn't hear me, but I swore there was a tom coming in from our rear. It sounded like it was coming from behind us.
yeah,
And at one point, I was getting frustrated because I didn't want to go any louder because I knew there was one in front of us
right.
still. Turned out it was the same one. But I said, Marvin, if you see the one coming behind us, just take it. I swear to Christ, it sounded like it was coming in behind us and close.
Yeah, I thought I heard one in that direction really far away at one point,
Yeah.
but never nothing that was that close.
And I swear it
It
was,
probably had something to do with that hump, with the roll
yes,
of the
I'm
hill.
thinking that's what it had to do, plus how I was sitting. And
Well, if you think about it, you got the roll of the hill, and we're like right here.
yeah,
The gobble's going to go up
yeah.
and then bounce off the top of the trees and then come back to us. So
Yeah, I don't know, but all I know is I thought that turkey was coming into her rear, and I was like, "Fuck, that one to her rear is coming in super quick." And so I was getting frustrated because I was like, "Fuck, I'm like the complete. Of course I am. I'm completely the wrong direction. Ah, but Marvin's over there. Maybe Marvin can swing himself and get the
well, plus,
shot."
plus we were sitting like this, and the field's over here, and I'm righty, so it's like
Yeah,
it's
like
it's always fun.
I was like, "This is unbelievably frustrating," but I was like, "This is crazy,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "This is why I love it."
It's my favorite chess game to play.
But anyways, Marvin, it was a blast. I did have fun, and
First hunt together of 2025.
yeah,
I've been hunting all the spring season. It's been my toughest season
yeah,
in years.
yeah.
I can't remember a season that was this tough. I'm very excited or interested to see the harvest reports for this
Mm-hmm.
year because I think it's going to be down quite a bit.
Okay.
Not a lot of birds. They seem few and far between. I think they're more in the woods right now because I think there's still a lot of feed from last year in the woods.
Yeah.
And they're very unresponsive compared to most years. And I'm not, an expert turkey caller, but I'm okay with a mouth call.
Yeah.
I get the job done, and I mean just nothing. I've even swapped to a box call a few days just to mix it up
That's what I have. I have a box call.
and just not a whole lot. I feel like everything's about 2 weeks ahead of schedule. I've never seen it this green this early before,
Mm-hmm.
which I know will definitely mess with, the breeding schedule of a turkey.
Yep.
I mean, I had friends that were seeing Tom's breeding hens in mid-March.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm seeing is like the turkeys are kind of acting like they do on the third week, not the, first or
Well,
second week.
I'm hoping in the very least that Tom that doesn't have any hens will come in the very least.
That would be ideal.
Because according they've been roosting in relatively the same spot now apparently for weeks. So it's
Right.
I'm just gonna have to see. I'm gonna go out there
So
and see.
hopefully us messing with them today didn't interfere with that at all. I don't think it will.
I don't think it will either because Marco's walking and Sue go walking all those trails all the fucking time,
Yeah.
like all the time. They go back there. Well, it's their property. They can do whatever the fuck
Yeah,
they
why
want.
wouldn't they?
I know. That's it.
That's it.
Go away.
Here's a video of me missing a turkey.